Shadow the Hedgehog.
I am the ultimate Lifeform.
Cell.
I am the best of every race, all neatly rolled into one super being.
Ragyo Kiruin.
I am no monster. I am the ultimate life form.
These and many more have claimed to be the greatest, and yet, which among them would stand tallest? Well, I wanted to find out, so I took 6 of my closest friends and gave them a bracket of 32 of the most powerful characters in fiction, all of whom had been called something akin to the ultimate life form. Then, all of us completed the bracket March Madness style, and I compiled the results to give you the definitive ultimate life form. Let me begin by introducing each of the competitors for the title. Shadow the Hedgehog, Mewtwo, Omega, Samus Aran, Sosuke Aizen, Izuru Kamakura, Fraulein Krutun, Queen Hyndrella, Cell, Metroids, Safi'jiiva, Grima, King Piccolo, Pegasus's Toon Monsters, the Ultimate Chimera, Fecto Elphilis, Cars, Yujiro Hanma, Kenkel, Overlord Gaia, Apocalypse, Doomsday, Father, Sephiroth, Sorrow, Adam Warlock, Meruem, Rimuru Tempest, Doomslayer, Ragyo Kiruin, Lavos, and finally Kirby. That's a lot. Maybe I bit off more than I could chew, but I'm sure with the help of my friends, each of you only knows like 3 of them. Shit. Good thing I compiled research for all of you to read up on them. Starting off the first match, it's Legendary against Legendary. Shadow versus Mewtwo. Given that he has consistently been referred to as the ultimate life form in the games, Shadow the Hedgehog is arguably the most well-known character bearing this title of ultimate life form. Mew is the ancestor of all Pokemon species and is the DNA source used to make up Mewtwo, an artificially manufactured Pokemon. Mewtwo was designed to be the most powerful Pokemon of all time, and it proved successful. With the tallied votes, Shadow claims the first victory and earns his spot in the second round, via a resounding 6-1. In match 2, we have 2 iconic characters wearing power suits, the ever-intimidating Omega of Mega Man 03, and Samus Aran, the indomitable bounty hunter of Metroid. Dr. Wile's greatest invention, Omega, is intended to serve as the perfect ruler of his evil empire. To put it another way, Omega, once dubbed the Ultimate Reploid and the God of Destruction in the series, was a force to be reckoned with. It took X and Zero uniting to put an end to his mayhem, and that was only sufficient to imprison him for the ensuing century. The Metroid universe's ultimate life form is presently Samus Aran. Due to her genetic infusion from 2 Chozo, the scientist Grey Voice, and the warrior Ravenbeak, she was already a strong and intelligent superhuman. However, after combining with the baby Metroid's DNA and Metroid fusion, she gained the ability to absorb any powerful energy, like the Metroids, without losing any of her innate qualities. This round was one of the closest, with Samus just barely claiming a 3-4 vote win. Match 3 pits Bleach's Sosuke Aizen against Danganronpa's Izuru Kamakura. After obtaining the Hogyoku, Sosuke Aizen declares himself to be the ultimate being, if not the perfect one. A student named Izuru Kamakura was subjected to experiments in order to bestow upon him all the abilities that had ever been discovered through Danganronpa's Hope's Peak, and allow him to reach the greatest potential. Not surprisingly, with a unanimous vote tally of 7, Sosuke Aizen wins this match due to truly being an unstoppable force. In the next match, we pitted Fraulein Krutun and Queen Hyndrella against one another. Both of these powerhouse women were considered the least familiar to the voters, so I wasn't sure who would win out in the end. Krutun possesses cannibalism superpower in addition to her adaptive ability from a certain magical index. She has the capacity to evolve into the ultimate living form, but it would take her roughly 2,300 years at the current rate of her development. From Beautiful Joe Double Trouble, Queen Hyndrella of the evil syndicate Madao takes the hero-ness, the core morality and justice of all heroic deeds, from Joe and the bosses of the game to change into a different person, earning her the title Ultimate Super Being. Fraulein Krutun wins the 4th bout with a voting total of 5-2. Perhaps one of the most anticipated matchups, the next fight will be between Cell and the Metroids. Cell believes himself to be the perfect life form, and expresses this belief through various phrases when referring to himself. Cell is a bioengineered creature composed of DNA taken from the best fighters in the Dragon Ball series up until that moment. The titular Metroids are bioengineered creatures as well, that were developed by the ancient Chozo, and are unmatched at the top of the universal food chain. Almost no naturally occurring force is strong enough to destroy a Metroid. You can strike it with anything, and it won't perish. Cell is, ironically, not here to play games, and devastates the Metroids with a 6-1 victory. In Match 6, we have our two terrible dragons, Safi'jiiva and Fell Dragon Grima. The Iceborne expansion for Monster Hunter World includes Safi'jiiva, an incredibly strong Elder Dragon, and the fully developed version of Xeno'jiiva, the final boss of the main game. This creature is the closest the series gets to a monster with unbounded potential for growth, if allowed to proliferate. Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, has a reveal that the alchemist Phineas first created the Fell Dragon Grima to create the perfect life form, after his experiments with resurrecting the dead for compliant soldiers resulted in what would eventually become the Risen, a zombie scourge. While not surprising to me, one dragon proves more huntable, with a final vote total of 5 votes Grima, 2 votes Safi'jiiva. A rather peculiar matchup was proposed for the 7th bout, King Piccolo versus Pegasus's Toon Monsters. Apart from its overwhelming evilness, King Piccolo also exudes a great deal of arrogance. He thinks he is the strongest person in the universe, and was certain that no one could ever match his power until Goku destroyed him. Pegasus asserts that his Toon Monsters, and cartoon characters in general, are ideal life forms, since they are directly called unkillable in the manga and Japanese adaptation of Yu-Gi-Oh! In this match, the Tyrant King Piccolo nets his first W since fighting Goku in 1988, with a final vote total of 4-3. The Ultimate Chimera from Mother 3, and Fecto Elfilis from Kirby, each indomitable forces in their own right, face off in the next match. The Ultimate Chimera was designed to be the ideal murderous device. Interestingly, you cannot employ it to access a battle screen. The moment the Chimera touches you, the game is over. The final boss in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is called Fecto Elfilis. It is a universe-destroying force that can absorb and destroy everything, merge with other species, and have the ultimate capacity to bring worlds together. After an upsettingly close match, Fecto Elfilis wins 3-4 against the Chimera. The official statistics compiled by Hirohiko Araki state that Cars attains this form with an IQ of 400, eyesight as strong as a space telescope, hearing that can distinguish between sounds like a whale's chant and a bat's scream, the capacity to disassemble his own skeleton at a cellular level equal to any animal species, including humans, and a healing factor that is almost instantaneous, meaning complete immortality. In Baki the Grappler, Yujiro Hanma is such a superhuman fighter that every situation he's in jumps straight into the incredibly absurd, in stark contrast to the pseudo-realism the rest of the setting tries to have. He is the strongest man in the world, able to use a ground punch to cause earthquakes, swim up waterfalls that are used for hydraulic power, stop a whaling harpoon with the side of his finger, and learn any fighting style from just seeing it once, making him a walking reference on several fighting styles that are only passed down through noble blood. These two invincible titans face off in this match, resulting in a 6-1 victory for Cars. The next match pits two unique evolutionary beings against one another, Konkel and Overlord Gaia. Betterman's Konkel is referred to as the best man, since he is considered the pinnacle of evolution. This entity is enigmatic and immensely strong, with an almost feminine appearance. It is the fully malignant and surprising result of the dive inspection. It sees the Betterman as its greatest threat, therefore it sets out to devour and absorb all other life and incorporate it into itself. Digimon World 2's Overlord Gaia describes itself as the ultimate organism, and it's the primary adversary and last boss of the game. It's a sentient artificial intelligence with formidable combat skills. Gaia, the project's main computer, began to change on its own, and eventually gained control of the whole system, imprisoning everyone inside the digital world. Konkel crushes its opponent with a comfortable 6-1 win. Two of the most iconic comic book villains, often compared to one another, face off in this battle. The grand philosophy of Marvel's Apocalypse revolves around a twisted version of evolution that says only the strong can survive. Understandably, he sees himself as the ultimate evolutionary, even though a large portion of his purported strength comes from borrowed celestial technology. Doomsday from Superman of DC Comics touts impressive reflexes and abilities, including, regrettably, the urge to track down and eliminate the strongest organisms it can detect in its surroundings, and that all contributes to its desire to be the ultimate survivor. Even worse, Doomsday views everything as a threat that needs to be eliminated because of the trauma he has endured from being slain and then revived numerous times. DC fans will be happy to know that Doomsday is the victor, with 6 votes compared to Apocalypse's 1. The desire to become godlike, to become a supreme being, is common among these characters, but perhaps none more so than Father of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and Sephiroth of Final Fantasy VII. Father, a clone of the biological father of the main heroes of the series, Edward and Alphonse Elric, is a living Philosopher's Stone, and the first homunculus from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, crafted by von Hohenheim's tutor. Father doesn't appear in the first section of the story, yet his presence is still oppressive. He is the nation's secret leader and covert constructor, intending to use its people's souls as ransom in order to unlock the Gate of Truth and absorb the original god, thus becoming a new god. The legendary Sephiroth of Final Fantasy VII possesses the ultimate form known as One-Winged Angel, which is a cliché unto itself. Sephiroth is a living legend, a well-known war hero, and soldier first class who is regarded as Shinra's strongest soldier to date. He learned the truth about his beginnings years ago on a notorious deployment to Nibelheim. He was a super prototype made by combining Genova's cells with a fetus that was still in the womb. Father may not have ascended beyond God, but he surpassed Sephiroth with a 6-1 victory. Perhaps the way one becomes the most powerful is with magic, and Sorrow and Adam Warlock demonstrate this best. Sorrow in Dragon Quest IV is on a revenge mission against humanity, searching for the secret of evolution that will grant him a monstrous final form that he plans to use to inflict his revenge on the entire planet. Sorrow starts off with a lot of power. His stats are all high and he can learn spells like Magic Burst and Lightning Storm, the most of which made their debut in subsequent Dragon Quest games. Marvel Comics' Adam Warlock was designed to be the ideal being. His abilities include manipulating cosmic energy, not aging, and the ability to cocoon himself in order to heal and evolve in the event of damage. The character is a celestial being who is the next step in human evolution, genetically engineered to be flawless and artificially developed on Earth by the Enclave. It goes to show just how insane comic book power scaling can be, because Adam dominates over Sorrow with 5 votes to 2. Meruem and Rimuru Tempest aim to show what happens when "you are what you eat" is taken to the extreme. Hunter x Hunter's Meruem, the Chimera Ant King, believes he is at the top of the food chain, and considering his great strength, intelligence, and capacity to absorb the nin abilities of every nin user he consumes, he has a point. This is reflected in his character design, which pays homage to Perfect Cell. By the end of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Rimuru Tempest has developed into the ultimate slime, the highest form of his monster species. In contrast, the typical slime seldom makes the cut as a non-sentient mook that's occasionally fed as a snack. Here we see once again how an ant can simply be squished, with Rimuru leaving the match victorious, 2-5. Maybe it's something alien that would make the ultimate life form. Doomslayer and Ragyokiryu certainly proved to be incredibly dangerous beings. In Doom Eternal, Dr. Elena Richardson's logs claim Doomguy is the ultimate life form with, "There is only one dominant life form in this universe, and it carries a steel-barreled sword of vengeance." He was initially dubbed Doomslayer by the demons, who also called him the Beast, the Unchained Predator, and the Hellwalker. Ragyo refers to herself as a god in Kill la Kill, justified by the fact that she is the strongest being in existence, nearly eternal, and the product of an experiment that bestowed upon her extraordinary abilities. To put her endless life in perspective, the only way to end her is to destroy every life fiber in her body at once, which can only be done with the use of scissor blades. If you leave any life fibers behind, she will just regenerate. This match is certainly close, with Ragyo barely scoring a 3-4 finish. The final match of the first round is perhaps the most anticipated, that of Chrono Trigger's Lavos and Kirby. The conclusion of Chrono Trigger reveals that Lavos' true goal is to evolve into such an ultimate creature by invading entire worlds and manipulating their own evolution process. It burrows into planets that support primitive life forms, beginning to affect their evolution, and appropriates any useful DNA the planet's life forms may have in order to evolve into the strongest entity. Kirby is a young traveler who arrived in Dreamland on a spring breeze. It is a ferocious eater that will take in almost everything. With the ability to turn into its opponent and mimic their powers, he battles for Dreamland, mostly to defend his own food stash. Kirby is practically indestructible and has vanquished numerous formidable foes, including actual gods. Unsurprisingly, Kirby the God Killer finishes off round 1 with an impressive 1-6 win. The very first match of round 2 has Shadow the Hedgehog versus Samus Aran, both alien DNA spliced and genetically engineered. Strangely, Shadow battles a prototype Ultimate Lifeform that looks like a giant lizard on life support in Sonic Adventure 2, quite dissimilar from himself. Presumably, the Bio-Lizard's drastic need for life support is why they scaled back into a smaller body for the second attempt, Shadow. Shadow can run almost as fast as Sonic, and teleport/manipulate time with a Chaos Emerald by utilizing his relatively unique power, Chaos Control. Samus eventually acquires the X-Parasite's ability to duplicate the skills of whatever she absorbs because of her power armor combining with one of the parasites. She is referred to by Ravenbeak as the most powerful Metroid of all. Shadow may not be as pretty as Samus, but he earns the right to call himself more powerful with a 4-3 vote total. The 18th bout is between Sosuke Aizen and Fraulein Krutun, two nearly godlike beings. Even though the Hogyoku made Aizen unkillable, Ichigo had Aizen beat before he used the final Getsuga Tensho, which, despite being mainly useless, eliminated the majority of extra attributes of Aizen's enhanced forms. If Fraulein were to consume Last Order and acquire her powers, she would purportedly immediately become a perfect entity. Considering that Fraulein already possesses complete immortality, one must question what a certain magical index considers to be the ideal living form. Sosuke Aizen proves himself superior with 5 votes, Fraulein with 2 votes. Cell and Grima, two virtually unkillable creatures made by mad scientists, face off in a battle of epic proportions. When Cell assumes his ultimate form, he proclaims himself perfect. He says that he can regenerate from any injury thanks to Namekian DNA after surviving his own self-destruct technique because he has only 1 cell remaining. As previously mentioned, Forneus took it upon himself to build Grima to be flawless. One may claim he was successful given that the end product was a kaiju dragon that could only be destroyed by its own strength. Apparently, Cell was the most perfect of the two, as he scored a victory with a 4-2 tally, with 1 abstained vote. 2 at 1 point rulers of Earth, King Piccolo and Fecto Elfilis, fight in match 20. For all his many displays of arrogance, Piccolo was completely terrified of the evil containment wave, due to suffering its effects before, and completely freezes in horror at the very moment it is performed. He also believed that he and his sons were superior to Earthlings, though he himself, like Kami, was unaware of his Namekian origins, as he referred both to himself and his sons as demons. Fecto Elfilis is basically Kirby but evil, able to shoot death lasers and fly similar to the Namekian villain he is up against. Fecto Elfilis must know either the Kamehameha or Evil Containment Wave, because it wins easily with a 1-5 score, with 1 vote abstained. The next match makes me wonder if names that start with K are better than others, considering the competitors are Kars and Konkle. Kars can change his hand from a carnivorous squirrel to a flower to a butterfly, and his arms into enormous bird wings and feathers that can be used to launch live piranhas, or chiton-like projectiles. Kars possesses all the powers of Earth's biosphere, past, present, and future. He also incorporates Wamu's and SCDC's skills into his repertoire. Lamia's ultimate objective and betterment is to beat Konkle, a feat accomplished only by metamorphizing into Oatless, the pinnacle of Betterman. The clash has an epic scope that is typical of kaiju conflicts. Kars crushes Konkle creatively and catastrophically, completing combat having collected 5 votes to 2. A particularly contentious bout, Doomsday vs. Father. My friends had a surprisingly difficult time with this one. With his ability to regenerate and resurrect himself from death, Doomsday possesses one of the most broken adaptive abilities in fiction. Each time he is killed, he gains strength and immunity to the prior kill. Father is the one who brought down the ancient civilization of Xerxes, and the archenemy of Edward Elric and von Hohenheim, two formidable alchemists in their own right. He has the ability to employ alchemy without any ingredients, and to halt Amestris' alchemist's use of the art whenever he pleases. The match ends in a close finish of 4-3, with Doomsday as the victor. Now for a match of man and monster, Adam Warlock and Rimuru Tempest. Adam, a being who was once simply known as him, rebelled against his makers and wanted a different fate since he was privy to their plans. Moreover, he frequently carries the Soul Stone, one of the legendary Infinity Gems, now known as the Infinity Stones, thanks to the MCU. And by the end of his story, Rimuru has become an immortal, nearly invulnerable physical god that has the capacity to expand infinitely through absorption, making him a strong candidate to be crowned the strongest being in the universe. I'm surprised Nickelodeon hasn't sued me for the number of characters taking L's because of slime, as Rimuru nets another close win with 4 votes to Adam's 3. 2 fashion icons fighting to the death? More likely than you might think. Ragyo and Kirby duke it out in round 2's finals match. Even without the use of a Kamui, an outfit composed only of the formidable life fibers, Ragyo manages to defeat her daughter Satsuki while she wears Kamui Junkets. While Ryuko Matoi adheres to the same philosophy, she categorically denies becoming the perfect life form. Kirby is, well, still Kirby. The pink puffball might be tiny, but it packs a big punch. I'm not sure if I can take this contest seriously anymore, but I can confirm that Kirby wins 2-4 with 1 abstention. The quarterfinals begin with Shadow and Sosuke. Like Sonic and his companions, Shadow's physique is practically indestructible, and has the ability to destroy machinery upon touch. He also can transform into Super Shadow by using the primordial energy found in Chaos or Master Emeralds to unlock a super form. Aizen claimed that even though the Hogyoku failed, he came to its conclusion before Kisuke Urahara. The souls of countless Shinigami and countless Rukongai inhabitants with Shinigami potential had to be offered to the Hogyoku in order to bring it to completion, but it remained unsatisfied. Perhaps Aizen just isn't destined for success, losing to Shadow in a close 4-3 match. Fecto Elfilis hopes to achieve heights Son Goku even couldn't on his own by defeating Cell in addition to King Piccolo. However, Cell is no pushover. Thanks to the DNA of Frieza and King Cold, he can withstand assaults like beheading or being blasted to pieces, as well as the vacuum of space. Fecto Elfilis, on the other hand, has survived a fight with Kirby, and only ends up no longer evil after taking a beating. With a single abstained vote, Cell manages to outlast Fecto Elfilis with a score of 4-2. Adaptation. It's often described as one of the most important traits for survival. And the next 2 are the competitors with the most adaptation, Cars and Doomsday. Cars is capable of producing hormone that is as potent as the sun's surface, to the point that coming into contact with human flesh causes it to nearly quickly liquefy and evaporate. He gets so strong that unless all of his cells are destroyed, no physical attack will ever be able to defeat him. Prehistoric Krypton, one of the harshest environments, served as the development site for Doomsday. Doomsday developed an immunity to the Radiant's energy projection after the Radiant killed him in their first battle, and he even survived Darkseid's entire Omega effect. The time it takes Doomsday to heal completely depends on how much damage he absorbs, but solar energy, like Hamon, heals him. If any match could result in an endless stalemate, it will probably be this one, which caused a 2-vote abstention and a very slight victory for Doomsday with a tally of 2 votes for Cars and 3 for Doomsday. The closing quarterfinals feature 2 round balls that love to eat and steal powers, Rimuru Tempest and Kirby. Each contender is essentially the same, so this one was left mostly to voter familiarity and preference. Kirby gets 3 total votes, and Rimuru a single supporter, with 3 abstentions. So the semifinals start off with a fantastic matchup, Shadow the Hedgehog and Cell. The inspirations for this video, to be completely honest. Shadow, like Cell, has DNA of aliens and is said to be capable of destroying the Earth single-handedly. However, Cell has one final trick in his sleeve. Thanks to his Saiyan DNA, he gains immense power each time he recovers from a near-death injury and becomes stronger with every battle. Cell must be just a bit more like Goku than I expected, because he overcame Shadow with a 2-3 vote tally and 2 votes abstained. The penultimate match pits Doomsday versus Kirby. Due to his extremely fast healing factor, Doomsday was able to recover from most injuries very rapidly. His side healed quickly after Superman sliced it with a plasma sword. Doomsday's engineering meant that he was immune to hunger, thirst, air, or sleep, and that the masses of bone-like material covering his body acted as a kind of exoskeleton. His body was an almost solid mass devoid of internal organs. By enabling the player to repeatedly increase his copy abilities, such as his fire ability, which may be upgraded to Volcano Fire and Dragon Fire, Kirby and the Forgotten Land greatly enhanced Kirby's abilities. Through the use of the mouthful mode mechanic in the game, Kirby can inhale objects such as cars and take on their form and functionality. The general consensus is that Kirby puts Doomsday in his stomach's pocket dimension with a vote of 0 to 3 and a massive 4 abstentions. And now, the final round, Cell from Dragon Ball Z versus the ever-lovable Kirby. Not going to lie, I kinda saw this coming. All that needs to be said about the opponents has been. Each of them is arguably the greatest. So let's see who was voted as the truly ultimate life form. The winner, with 3 votes to 1 and 3 abstained, is Kirby! The powerful pink puffball from Dreamland proves once and for all that he is perfect in every way. Thank you for taking the time to watch this sort of gag video that my friends and I put together. I know it's been a while since I've posted because, well, life comes at you fast sometimes. But I plan to make many more videos, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. And I'll see you the next time.